am not defined by a Scantron and a pencil, and neither are you. As the American educational system continues to place more emphasis on standardized testing results, critics argue that it can be more harmful than helpful to students in the long run. Today, I want to convince you, as school board directors nationwide, as well as college administrators, that standardized testing is not a true indicator of a student's total capabilities. While standardized testing offers a general comparison between the schools nationwide, it is important that you reconsider the value you are placing on the results of student standardized testing. Let's consider the three main hindrances and negative effects that standardized testing has on students. Claim 1. Success on standardized testing in many cases can be achieved by learning how to beat the system. If you were to search the shelves of a library, you would find a vast selection of books preparing you for different tests, standardized tests, such as college entrance exams, graduation tests, the SAT and the ACT, and lots more. The focal point of each of these guides is how to prepare yourself to take the test, and it should reasonably be to study the included material. Yet, this is no longer the case. Preparation for tests like these involves how to control stress, utilizing time management, helpful tactics and memorization skills, and even how to strategize and eliminate to make your best educated guess. Performance depends less on existing knowledge than it does on an ability to know strategies. Learning in the classroom is being replaced by test preparation, depriving students of a solid educational foundation. The emphasis that the educational system places on standardized test scores undermines the importance of exploring a student's personal interests and inquiries. Developing such interests is the springboard of choosing and preparing a student for a successful career. And this preparation for life outside of the classroom is the purpose of education itself. In other words, standardized tests limits the system's ability to accomplish its own goal. Test prep centers have claimed that the financial benefit students stand to gain in doing well on the SAT and ACT is often good motivation for the investment of hours that studying and preparing for the test. For example, consider putting 50 hours of studying and preparing and receiving a full ride scholarship to a university that usually costs $25,000 a year for 4 years. Essentially, if you do the math, you're paying yourself $2,000 an hour. Obviously, this shows you the weight that standardized test scores hold for college-bound students. However, is this a true assessment of their overall knowledge and capabilities? Claim 2. Standardized testing hinders students and teachers' ability to be creative, think critically, and be free to learn outside the box. Standardized tests measures only a small portion of what makes education most meaningful. The standardized tests cannot measure things that are really important, like creativity, critical thinking, resilience, motivation, perseverance, curiosity, endurance, reliability, enthusiasm, empathy, self-discipline, leadership, courage, compassion, resourcefulness, honesty, and integrity. This situation presents a problem on both sides of the coin. Teachers are forced to teach to the test, while students are deprived the opportunity to receive a well-rounded education, preparing them for a successful future. The value and purpose of education is to prepare students for life. So how is a Scantron and a pencil preparing them for a world of creativity, critical thinking, and problem solving? Standardized testing presents students with a distorted view of higher education and actually the real world. The multiple choice format found on standardized testing is an inadequate assessment tool. It encourages a simplistic way of thinking in which there is only one right answer, which that doesn't apply to the real world. Excessive testing may teach children test-taking skills, but does not promote problem-solving and reasoning skills. A 5-year University of Maryland study completed in 2007 found that the pressure teachers feel to teach to the test was leading to declines in teaching higher order thinking, in the amount of time spent on assignments, and on higher cognitive contact with the curriculum. Arthur Costa, professor at Cal State University, summed up the thrust of this current reform-based madness as what was educationally significant and hard to measure has been replaced by what is educationally insignificant and easy to measure. So now we measure how well we taught what isn't worth learning. Think about it. Now we are teaching our students how to choose the best multiple choice answer in the allotted time. Are test-taking strategies more important than learning how to balance a checkbook, the importance of hygiene, and the structure of our governmental system? Standardized testing only evaluates the individual performance of the student instead of the overall growth that student has had over the course of the year. I would argue that teachers and students' performances should be evaluated on the growth that they have had over the course of the year instead of one single test result. This leads me to my third claim. Standardized testing evaluates students' performances on a particular day and does not take into consideration external factors. You paid attention in class, took detailed notes, read every chapter, and even attended extra study sessions after class. So you should do great on this big exam, right? However, when the test is presented, you are so nervous that you can't even remember the answers to the easiest questions. If this experience sounds familiar to you, then you might be suffering from what is known as test anxiety. Test anxiety is a psychological condition in which people experience extreme distress and anxiety in test-taking situations. While many people experience some degree of stress and anxiety before and during exams, test anxiety can actually impair learning and hurt test performance. A little bit of nervousness can actually be helpful, making you feel more alert and ready to handle the task at hand. But excessive fear can make it difficult to concentrate, and you might struggle to recall things that you have studied. Test anxiety is a type of performance-based anxiety. In situations where the pressure is so high and a good performance counts, people can become so nervous that they actually are unable to do their best. While these students have the skills and the knowledge to do very well in these situations, their excessive fear can impair their performance. Test anxiety is just one of the many external factors that can hinder a child in test-taking situations. Because of the weight that standardized test scores hold in determining a youth's future, many students can allow that pressure to cloud their ability to think clearly. Take, for example, a law in Ohio. It is in place that a high school student must pass a set of tests in order to graduate. Students are tested in reading, writing, science, social studies, and mathematics, beginning in their sophomore year. This statewide standardized test, known as the Ohio Graduation Test, determines a student's future in 2.5 hours, the allotted time given to each section. When the test was first introduced in 2003, 76.9% of the students failed. These same students were denied their high school diplomas if they did not successfully finish each section of the test when it was repeated in their senior year. This plain injustice deprived college-bound students of their plans and dreams for their future. Ohio students continue to feel that pressure to pass this standardized test today. In similar situations, standardized testings, including the SAT and ACT reasoning tests, are used to determine whether or not a student will be considered for undergraduate studies. These insufficient methods of measuring success carry damaging consequences. Standardized tests are designed to assess the intelligence of the average student in a classroom setting. This means that students with learning disabilities and those who have a variety of learning styles don't have a fair opportunity to present what they can accomplish. Time standardized tests are just one more obstacle that they must overcome to be successful. I know this firsthand because I have struggled with dyslexia since the first grade. Children with dyslexia are often just as intelligent as their fellow students. However, the difference is reading and writing are more difficult and can take a little bit longer. Growing up taking timed tests, I feared the reading portion of the exam. Like many who are confronted with dyslexia or any other learning disability, I faced this heavy-weighted exam with great concern, worried that I would not be able to read and process the questions in the allotted time. As I got older, the pressure increased, knowing that my scores would determine the colleges that I would get accepted to and the scholarships that I could receive. As school board directors and college administrators nationwide, you hold the future of your students' success in your hands. So take responsibility of the power that you have been given. Standardized testing should not be the strongest contributor and the measure of success for students' ability to perform in the classroom and beyond. You are the inspired leaders of this nation, and your decisions today determine the future leaders of tomorrow. So how will you choose to measure students' success? Thank you.